Hello, welcome to IT Expert YouTube video series. Today we are going to talk about AWS Cloud Architect Top 50 Interview Questions. 1. What are the AWS components? Below are the AWS components: data management and data transfer, compute and networking, storage, automation and orchestration, operations and management, visualization, security, and compliance. 2. Which load balancer supports path-based routing? The application load balancer supports path-based routing. 3. What is the availability zone and region in AWS? A region represents a separate geographic area in AWS, and availability zones are highly available data centers within each AWS region. Also, each region has multiple isolated locations known as availability zones. The code for the availability zone is its region code followed by a letter identifier. The best example is US East 1A. 4. Why is VPC needed? VPC or Virtual Private Cloud is used to create a virtual network in the AWS cloud. It provides complete control over a virtual networking environment, including resource placement, connectivity, and security. 5. What types of instances do you know? Below are the different types of AWS instances: general purpose, compute optimized, memory optimized, accelerated computing, storage optimized. 6. What is autoscaling? Autoscaling monitors your applications and automatically adjusts capacity to maintain a steady, predictable performance at the lowest possible cost. It makes scaling simple with recommendations that allow you to optimize performance, cost, or balance between them. 7. What restrictions apply to AWS Lambda function code? AWS Lambda has the following restrictions: maximum disk space 512 MB. Default deployment package size 50 MB. Memory range 128 to 3008 MB. A function's maximum execution timeout is 15 minutes. 8. How do you trace user requests to REST APIs, API Gateway? We can use AWS X-Ray to trace and analyze user requests as they travel through your Amazon API Gateway REST APIs to the underlying services. 9. What is the difference between Amazon S3 and EC2? The main difference between Amazon S3 and EC2 is that S3 stores large amounts of data while EC2 runs the servers in the cloud. 10. Explain how elasticity differs from scalability. Elasticity enables you to meet dynamic changes, while scalability provides the static increase in the workload. The main purpose of elasticity is to match the resources allocated with the actual amount of resources needed at any given point in time. Scalability handles the changing needs of an application within the boundary of the infrastructure via statically adding or removing resources to meet the application's demands if needed. 11. What are the methods to deploy the latest application package to the servers in the autoscaling group in AWS? There are 3 deployment methods which are as follows. Using Coda Pipeline, deploy the code when the server gets created. Replacing image, deploy the code to a temporary server, take the image, and replace the image in the autoscaling group. Changing the startup script or user data in the autoscaling launch config, pull the code and restart the application server whenever a new server is created. 12. Do we need to open outbound port 80 by 443 on the load balancer security group to allow return traffic from the server? No, the outbound port is not required to be kept open. 13. How do you encrypt the connection in transit to RDS? You use the certificate bundle TLS or SSL created by RDS to encrypt the connection in transit. 14. How do you enhance AWS security with best practices? AWS security best practices are as follows. Use accurate account information. Use MFA multi-factor authentication. Validate IAM roles. Rotate your keys. Limit security groups. 15. What are the advantages of Redshift in AWS? The advantages of Redshift in AWS include wide adoption, ease of administration, ideal for data lakes, ease of querying, columnar storage, performance, scalability, security, strong AWS ecosystem, pricing. 16. What are the differences between a core node and task node in EMR? A core node contains software components that run tasks and store data in a Hadoop distributed file system, or HDFS. Multi-node clusters have at least one core node. A task node contains software components that only run tasks. Also, it does not store data in HDFS and is technically optional. 17. How can you speed up data transfer in Amazon Snowball? There are several ways to speed up data transfer in Amazon Snowball, including: use the latest Mac or Linux Snowball client. Batch small files together. Perform multiple copy operations at one time. Copy from multiple workstations. Transfer directories but not files. Do not perform other operations on files during transfer. Reduce local network use. Eliminate unnecessary hops. 18. How do you upload a file larger than 100 megabytes in Amazon S3? There are two main options for uploading a file larger than 100 megabytes in Amazon S3, use the AWS command line interface or use the AWS SDK. 19. Describe AWS routing policies. Below are the AWS routing policies. Simple routing policy. Failover routing policy. Geolocation routing policy. Geo-proximity routing traffic flow only policy. Latency-based routing policy. IP-based routing policy. Multi-value answer routing policy. Weighted routing policy. 20. What are the consistency models in DynamoDB? The consistency models in DynamoDB are as follows. Eventual consistency model maximizes the read throughput with low latency. Strong consistency model provides updated data with high latency. 21. What is Amazon EC2 Elastic Compute Cloud in AWS or Virtual Machine in Azure Cloud? It is virtualization of computers on cloud. Amazon EC2 is a virtualized machine where we can install applications and OS. It is an infrastructure as a service offering. We virtualize storage, network, CPU etc. using hypervisors. 22. What is caching and how does it work? Caching is to offload servers by storing high frequently added information in the cache. If the user tries to take information from DB, it goes to cache and it will return. If the cache has no data, it will go to the server return and cache it. Next person asks if it will return from the cache. It can improve performance, it can reduce latency. If you set up time to live of data in cache to timeout to keep it refreshing. 23. What is DNS? And what are the key record types? Domain name system used to map IP addresses to a user-friendly name. Phone book of the Internet. You can route traffic based on geography, latency, weight etc. Key record types are as following. A record that match name to IPv4 address. AAA record that match name to IPv6 address. CNAME record where you map one domain to another domain. MX record required for email. 24. What is the MiTM man-in-the-middle attack? A man-in-the-middle attack is the type of attack where attackers intrude into an existing connection to intercept the exchanged data and inject false information. It involves eavesdropping on a connection and intercepting messages. Toolbox for IT. Hackers can use packet sniffing software Wireshark to intrude the connection. Get the sender and receiver server information. He can get access to the website as Alice or Bob. 25. Data encryption at rest and transit. At rest, encrypt the disk and hence you get data encryption at rest out of the box. At transit, use VPN or SSL or TLS HTTPS equal to 443 to secure your data by hashing it during transit. 26. What is symmetric and asymmetric? Asymmetric, sender data is encrypted with key 1 and the receiver side uses key 2 to decrypt the data. Symmetric, both sender and receiver use the same key to encrypt and decrypt data. 27. What is NMap? Used to scan a network, segment or host to find out the open ports, so that you can attack on those ports. Interviewer may ask if there is a Linux machine and it has an application that is not working. What will you do? I will answer by saying I will first scan the network by using NMap or Wireshark to find out which ports are closed or opened etc. 28 What is IAM? Users are defined in IAM and they get assigned with roles and they have access based on the role to the protected resources. Also, it does logging of each activity done by the user. Authentication and authorization also done by IAM. Who is the user and what he is allowed to do? 29 What is social engineering? Social engineer is someone who is a master of asking seemingly non-invasive or unimportant questions to gather information over time. Gain trust. Reduce defenses. Social engineer use deception to get sensitive info from someone. Also, she or he can combine number of techniques to gather sensitive information. 30 How would you secure enterprise? Follow multi-layer approach. Policy. Look from user, encryption, IAM and tech perspective. Create firewall, protect your network perimeter. IDS and IPS system behind the firewall. DDoS AWS Shield, Cloudflare. ACLS on the router and subnet. On the VM you install WAF to protect XSS, XSRF. Physical system secure like MAC address stop unused ports. Phishing attack secure. 31 How would you secure the cloud? Follow defense in depth and secure physical to data layer. Steps are as below. Physical security. IAM identity and access management. DDoS, firewall perimeter, IDS or IPS or intelligent threat detection. NSG network security group, network protection. WAF web application firewall, compute, patches, malware protection etc. Application, design or code review of applications installed. Data, user Azure PaaS services which is by default data at rest. 32 What is DDoS? Distributed denial of service. DDoS is when a server is exhausted by serving large numbers malicious requests and could not serve genuine requests is called DDoS. It loses CIA principle, confidentiality, integrity and availability. Now it is not available for genuine users. Azure DDoS protection, Cloudflare, AWS Shield can save you. 33 What is IDS or IPS? IDS intrusion detection system. Been around for quite a while, fairly common and easier to set up. Logs alerts and events for later analysis. Allows for reactive response or research. IPS intrusion prevention system. Newer platform over the last few years. Enables prevention such as blocking IP addresses, etc. False positives could block legitimate traffic. 34 What is DHCP? Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol DHCP. This is a server that assigns automatically or dynamically IP to connected hosts or servers. Suppose you have 300K systems, then you use DHCP. How does it work? Whenever a new system comes up, it sends a broadcast, hey, I'm new in the network, I need an address, called DHCP discover. All the DHCP servers will respond called as DHCP offer. If there are 10 DHCP servers, the client will receive 10 IPs, then the client has to send a DHCP request to his favorite or desired DHCP server. Then the server sends back a DHCP acknowledgement to the client. 35 What is a VLAN? VLAN Virtual Local Area Network. You have 100 computers in one switch and within one subnet. Limit the finance to access the things only they need. Finance, HR, sales, IT ops team might need access to everything. You can virtualize your switch to chop into multiple virtual logical switches. This way you can enhance security for those logical groups of computers. 36 What is VLAN trunking? 4 VLAN in single switch and another 4 in other switch. You run a single cable between them to establish connection. That is called VLAN trunking. How do you do it in a private and secure manner? The trunk has a tag for a VLAN. Each VLAN will get its own IEEE 802.1q tag. In a cloud computing environment, on-premise to Azure Cloud, when you do direct connection or express route, you send data over VLAN over a trunk. Azure takes your information and your VLAN tag and keeps it separate from other customers' traffic. 37 What is the difference between a hybrid cloud and a full cloud environment? And what are the advantages of each? Hybrid cloud, architecturally speaking, you have your data center that has servers, compute, storage, networking and security, and you also have the cloud. And you have both connected to get the benefits of your current infrastructure and connect the cloud to get the agility, scaling, and resilience. Performance, you get lower latency from your data center compared to the cloud. Also, you get control in case the cloud is down and you have your data center still running. Native cloud has no maintenance switch, routing, cooling, heating, physical security, etc. If you are a new company and you do not have money for CapEx, then you should use cloud. So you save money and only spend on OpEx. You get more speed and scaling, reliance. 38. How can autoscaling help with DDoS protection? Hackers control multiple computers and they send requests to your network and overwhelm your systems. If your system can handle 10K web requests and DDoS is giving 30K requests per system. Each of the systems had autoscaling enabled. Then automatically when the system will be overutilized 75% or more, cloud will add a new system and load balance them. So now you spawn up 10 diff systems and now you can handle 50K requests. So the DDoS attack was controlled by autoscaling. 39. What is Classful IP Addressing and problems? Classful IP Addressing host counts. Class A 16 million host identifiers. Class B 65,535 host identifiers. Class C 254 host identifiers. Classful IP addressing IP ranges. The problem would commonly occur when an organization required more than 254 host machines and therefore would no longer fall into Class C but rather Class B. This means that the organization would use a Class B license even though they had far less than 65,535 hosts. Therefore, if an organization only required 2,500 hosts, they would be wasting about 63,000 hosts by holding a Class B license, which would greatly decrease the availability of IP4 addresses unnecessarily. 40. What is CIDR? Classless inter-domain routing. CIDR divides the IP address in network ID and host ID. CIDR is also known as supernetting. It is a method of allocating IP address and IP routing. It replaces the old school of classful IP addressing. CIDR is based on variable length subnet masking VLSM. This allows it to define prefixes of arbitrary lengths, making it much more efficient than the old system. CIDR IP addresses are composed of two sets of numbers. The network address is written as a prefix, like you would see a normal IP address, example 192.255.255.255. The second part is the suffix, which indicates how many bits are in the entire address, example by 12. Putting it together, a CIDR IP address would look like the following: 192.255.255.255 by 12. The network prefix is also specified as part of the IP address. This varies depending upon the number of bits required. Therefore, taking the example above, we can say that the first 12 bits are the network part of the address while the last 20 bits are for host addresses. 41. What is SQS? Simple queuing system. Decouple A and B so you can scale both of them independently. It is used to decouple two independent components or microservices by giving reliable communication mechanisms. 42. What is autoscaling? The biggest server to meet your busiest day. On Christmas they get 10 M requests. They can buy VMs and put them in an autoscaling group to scale automatically. However, in the cloud you get an autoscaling group for EC2 instances in AWS and you have virtual machine scale set in Microsoft Azure Cloud. There you just need to define desired capacity, 2. Minimum capacity, 2. Maximum size, 10 when 75% of both machine is reach. 43. What is a load balancer? Why do you use it? It is a server or a hardware that will determine which server to send traffic. To share the traffic. What if a single server failed because of load? You do not have redundancy. For designing high performance, high available web applications, you need a load balancer. Load balancers increase the availability and performance of your system. We can divide the load balancer in two parts: network and application load balancer. Network load balancers are really fast because they work at layer 4. They are looking at TCP headers and they are pushing at your servers. So if you want high performance, you need a network load balancer. Cross-region or global load balancing. Application load balancers work at layer 7, so it is a web traffic load balancer, so they enable us to manage traffic to your web application. SSL termination, cookie-based session, round robin for load balancing traffic. If you want application intelligence and routing, then use this. 44. What is API Gateway and its benefits? API Gateway offers below which ALB does not. It integrates with IAM. Authentication and authorization. API tokens issuing and managing. Throttling. Caching. 45. What is Firewall? It blocks traffic at the edge of your network. It keeps your network secure. It blocks all traffic denied by policies. It lets your outbound traffic back if it is coming from you. A firewall protects the perimeter of the edge of your network. It is a security appliance that is basically standing guard saying you are not allowed in, you are allowed. It looks at traffic based on policy. By default, it will block all the traffic from coming in. It will allow your internal traffic out on the internet, and it will allow all your return traffic back through the firewall. Because firewalls are stateful, therefore. Within perimeter, if Mike wants to open google.com. Firewall is stateful, it will say okay, Mike started the session, let his return traffic come back because I know it is destined for Mike and I know it is related to the same session where Mike requested google.com. 46. How does cloud computing affect an organization costs? Saves capital cost. Costs like workstation, firewall, load balancer, cooling, networking, power, etc. Operation cost also like electric bill, network, staff. Move to the cloud, nothing to buy. You can do lift and shift and save CapEx. You only pay for what you use. Your CapEx goes down and OpEx goes up. Agility benefit, you can spawn up VMS fastly. 47. What are VPC flow logs? NSG flow log in Azure? In networking we have Cisco Net Flow. It will examine the traffic, they would cross Cisco routers and you could say, the traffic all going from here to endpoint B and check for security violation. You can find areas of congestion in your network. Check any issue on network traffic and troubleshoot. VPC flow log gives info about traffic flow. They are excellent for any network troubleshooting, especially in security. It will tell you below things. Source. Destination. Protocols. Port number. Something accepted by ACL but rejected by security group. If this traffic was supposed to be a web app hosted in a VM and you want to know why it got rejected by SG, check the VPC flow logs. 48. What is needed for a simple lift and shift of a system to the cloud? Define the configuration of the server, like how many cores, RAM and storage. 49. What is the difference between latency-based routing and geolocation-based routing? Latency routing is for speed and performance. Geolocation routing will also optimize the speed and performance, however, it will also send traffic to appropriate websites based on their locations. Latency-based routing determines the lowest latency and sends you to the web server with the lowest latency so you get the best experience. Latency-based routing done by Traffic Manager or Front Door. Geolocation routing looks at the source IP address and determines what is closest to you and sends them to a different destination. Example, you can check IP and decide province and route to that website. For Finch province, route to the French website. Route the English province to the English website. If you are dealing with a company having multi-language websites there, use this. 50. What is region? AWS has the concept of a region, which is a physical location around the world where we cluster data centers. We call each group of logical data centers an availability zone. Each AWS region consists of multiple, isolated, and physically separate OSs within a geographic area. Thank you for watching this video. We provide hands-on training with labs, homework, group projects. Prepare you for the certification. Provide real projects. Internship opportunities. Support you and resume LinkedIn. Staffing support. Provide tech references. In-person online class. Class retake options and more. Call us at 847-350-9034 for your free career consultation meeting. Please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for the latest videos.